Welcome to TNT Outdoors. I'm your host, Scott. And today's video is probably more for my preppers out there. And specifically, how do we introduce our loved ones, our friends, and our families into prepping, into emergency preparedness, so they're not caught off guard if emergency hits? One good way that I found is actually to give some prepping items as gifts. And I was watching a video actually earlier today from a channel I like to watch called Preparedness, and he was doing a list of top prepping items that might be good as gifts. And it reminded me of a time about 3 years ago that for Christmas, I actually gave bug out bags or emergency kits to my friends and my family for Christmas. And I thought giving emergency preparedness kits to my friends and family would be a good way to get them some of those essential items that they might need, if disaster strikes, but also kind of get the conversation going and getting the ball rolling on them thinking about maybe, they might want to start doing just a little bit of preparedness. So that's what I did. This right here is one of those emergency kits that I actually gave out. Even though I made these bags like 3 years ago, I'm gonna try to find links to as many of the products inside here and put them in the description box below. That way you can research them or maybe even purchase them if you want to. So check the description box for more information on the products we're about to go over. I have quite a few bug out bags, kits, gear, all sorts of stuff. Different bags for different purposes, cars, bug out bags, whatnot. But for this video, I really wanted to use the exact bag and all the contents that I gave those few years ago. I called my sister and I said, hey, do you still happen to have, that bug out bag emergency preparedness kit that I gave you several years ago? She's like, well, of course I do. Matter of fact, it's in my car right now. And so here we go. We have the exact kit right here. Now, obviously, first and foremost, this is not an exhaustive, extensive, full bug out bag, emergency kit, that preppers like you or me might put together for ourselves. What this is a few of the essential items that I felt like would be important and kind of key items to help somebody get through, short-term kind of a situation. More of an icebreaker, if you will. For instance, let me just show you. Right here, this is one of my complete personal bug out bags that I put together. Obviously, this is just a starter compared to something like this, So this is what I got. This is just one of them. So let's take a look and see what's inside. All right, well, there we go. So first and foremost, the main item that I wanted to get everybody I was getting an emergency prep kit that year was water filtration. And specifically, I went with the Sawyer Squeeze water filtration system. I actually did a full product test review video on this Sawyer Squeeze where I tested it with some nasty pond water. Hogs been wallering in it. It's just, it was nasty water. Filtered it with this. It's a pretty interesting video. If you want to check it out, it'll be linked at the end of this video. So, first item was water filtration. One of the most important things is having clean drinking water in an emergency situation. And some of the next items I put in were actually some food rations. One of them was just these emergency food ration. It's a 2,400 calorie bar that you can get. I think this one is apple cinnamon. And these are actually not bad. They're kind of hard because of the way they're vacuum sealed here, but if you open them up and it breaks apart, it's kind of almost like a sandy, gritty kind of texture that comes out, so they're actually pretty tasty. So you're definitely going to want water with it though because of the texture. So that, and then I just threw in a couple of, just freeze-dried meals here. This one is a Mountain House breakfast skillet, This is Backpacker's Pantry, Jamaican style jerk rice and chicken. Sounds pretty good. Now these are good food, but again, everything in here is not only something that they could use, but it's something to get a conversation started about, why are these good? Why would you want freeze-dried meals, and what's the convenient with them, or what does it take to prepare those, and what do you need to think about in an emergency situation if that's the kind of food you got available. And next, of course, duct tape. I don't have to explain why it's good to have Nice big roll of duct tape in an emergency situation. 1,001 uses. And these were kind of cute. I just thought it was neat. You know, I got a whole set of these little lanterns here, just for a little bit of emergency lighting. This is good if, you know, just your normal old power outage. So having these handy available. Right along with that, of course, you need a flashlight. Nice little flashlight. And just to mention, most things I like to try to keep in Ziploc bags, especially like flashlights and stuff like that that you don't want to get wet. You know, you never know what kind of situation you're going to find yourself in an emergency. You know, if you're going to be in the rain, or God forbid you fall in a pond or a river or something. So as much as I can, I like to store things in Ziploc bags. It keeps them dry, but it also helps to organize them and kind of keep things segmented so I can find them easily and they're not all jumbled up together. I put in some extra batteries for the flashlight as well as for this. Then another very important item is some kind of a multi-tool. You know, all sorts of uses for these. Now this particular multi-tool is not a very expensive one. You know, I think this particular one is around $10 or something. I got it in the store. You know, it's not a super fancy, super expensive one. You know, for mine, I really like Leatherman's. But for just a kit, you know, that you're not really going to use this very often, except maybe an emergency, you know, having a decent multi-tool, you know, lightweight, is not bad. And I've actually used these cheaper multi-tools. They're not the greatest, but they do work. And they're not too bad, you know, as long as you don't get crazy with them, they're pretty durable for what they are. My biggest complaint about them actually is they don't have locking blades on them. My Leatherman, all the tools, when you pull them out, the individual tools, they lock in place. You know, when you're cutting with this, doing a project, that makes me a little nervous. And along those same lines is just a fixed blade, you know, good little knife. And this is actually pretty decent steel, you know, full tang knife here, with just some paracord wrapped around it. That's good. But I also got a ferro rod that goes with it. You know, a couple little sparks, helps for fire starting. Pretty awesome. There you go. It's a ferro rod, a little fixed blade knife, and I actually got an extra ferro rod that I threw in the bag as well. And next, this is actually just one of those little emergency radios. You know, they can be battery powered, as well as they've got the, you know, little cranks on them. They're pretty good. You know, you can get an FM, AM signal on them and a weather radio. So they're pretty good items to have. And of course, had to include some paracord in there. You never can have too much cordage. So starting off a kit with a little bit of paracord, obviously a good idea. And then I just put together some other miscellaneous items in here. I've got some UCO windproof, waterproof matches. Now these matches actually do work, and they surprised me. I actually did a video about testing these matches as well. That was pretty fun to make. Definitely video worth watching if you want to make sure these matches work. So I'll put a link down in the description box and or link it at the end of this video as well, where you can find my stormproof matches testing video, where we find out, are these really windproof and waterproof? Alright, and in conjunction with the matches, this is actually something I put together. This is just little containers full of actually dryer lint for tinder. You know, somebody's doing some fire starting. So I'll put that in there. And of course we got a couple emergency blankets, part of that kit. And just some rubber gloves for whatever you might need those for. Small little first aid kit, again, conversation starter. The kits I have in my bags are much more extensive, obviously, as far as the first aid goes, than something like that. So, you know, I got a lot of wound care and all sorts of dressings and stuff for my stuff. But just to get a little kit started, get the conversation going. A little bit of antibiotic cream to go with that for minor cuts. And lastly in this kit, in my opinion, one of the most essential items for any first aid kit, specifically for your bug out bag or emergency kit, is actually something called moleskin. Now moleskin is good for protecting your skin from getting blisters, as well as once you have blisters, to hopefully help them from not getting too worse and limiting the pain. Moleskin, definitely an essential item for every bug out bag, for every emergency kit. You got to protect your feet. If you're in a situation where you got to do a lot of walking, maybe you end up having to bug out on foot, you want to have plenty of moleskin, because if you're going to be walking miles and miles and miles with gear on and whatever else, your feet are definitely going to take a beating that they're probably not used to, and you will develop blisters probably sooner than you think. So definitely invest in some moleskin. You can find these just about any store in their first aid aisle, just this moleskin. Look in the feet care aisle, and these pre-made little blister patches, if you will. You can usually find those in the camping section or the hiking sections, that sort of stuff in the stores. All right, so that covers all the items that were included in my bug out bag emergency prep kits that I gave out for Christmas a few years ago. Now, all of these items, in my opinion, are really good items to include in kind of an entry-level bug out bag emergency kit. Any one of these items could find themselves very useful in an emergency or SHTF situation. And some of them, like the Sawyer squeeze water filter, could even be lifesavers in an emergency situation. We all know the importance of clean, fresh drinking water and how much, especially in a stressful SHTF situation, you're going to need to consume. So a water filter could be a lifesaver. So this is a very good one to give. If you had to give just one, I'd pick this one, a water filter of some sort. There are many out there. I do like the Sawyer. I personally tested it. Again, the video will be at the end of this video. So I like these. But quite frankly, the real gift in this situation is not necessarily the individual products themselves. It's the gift of giving the preparedness mindset to your loved ones. It's a conversation starter. It's getting the ball rolling on, piquing their interest. They may call you crazy and whatnot. That's fine. But, I guarantee they'll still keep them. Everybody that I gave them to, they actually really liked them. And there was a couple little jokes in here, but, they were very appreciative and they all kept them. And obviously, I was able to get this one within just a few hours of notice because my sister, who I gave it to, literally had it on her. And that's pretty awesome. How many gifts can you think of, that 3 or 4 years later, the person you gave it to them not only still has it, but they know right where it is, and maybe even keep it on them or near them at all times. That's pretty cool, actually. So that actually makes me very happy. And when that conversation starts, I would just recommend, don't go full-blown zombie apocalypse, talking about EMPs and solar flares and all this stuff. Do not hit a new person interested possibly in prepping with all the scenarios out there. What could happen is just like a situation with a physical threat, the fear of potentially SHTF scenarios could potentially ignite that fight or flight instinct, if you will. Flight being, well, I'm gonna go back into my mode here and think that none of this could ever happen and pretend like everything's fine and good. And of course the fight mode to me is, oh, I'm gonna start prepping, So when you're having a conversation about why you chose to give these items, don't go full-blown SHTF. Say, hey, you just never know what kind of emergency might happen. The power goes out, you might need a little light. If something happens in your water in the area, we've seen local municipalities have issues with their water before, and people have to go buy water or they bring water into the communities. Well, if you had something like a water filter, collecting your own rainwater and then filtering it might be an option for you to have. So it doesn't have to be a full-blown SHTF scenario to use any number of these. And as a matter of fact, a lot of these items I use all the time for my bug out bags, for just out in a situation. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I need something. So, these come in handy, not just for the zombie apocalypse or full-blown Mad Max SHTF. They'll come in handy more often than you think. And that's the way you should approach kind of a new interested person into prepping and, collecting gear and building bug out bags and whatnot. Don't hit them full blown. Just say, hey, I got you something or even a couple of things to get you started. Plan for just the small little power outages, small little emergencies that could potentially pop up. Keep something in your car. If you're out in the middle of nowhere, middle of the night for some reason, and you have car trouble, have a little bit of food, water, ways to find food, maybe ways to make a fire. What if it's cold? You just never know what kind of situation you could get out there, just driving your car. All good reasons to be a prepper, if you will, just somebody that has a few items just in case they need them. Approach them with that way, kind of kid gloves at first. Don't go all fear porn on them. Please don't do that, So There's enough fear porn out there. You know, you guys don't need to be doing that to your loved ones. They'll find that on their own if they go looking for it. So you don't need to give it to them. Again, I put these together like 3 years ago. So I'm going to look for links to as much of the products as I can find, and I'll put them in the description box below so you can research them or maybe even purchase them. Well, thank you for watching today. I hope you found this video helpful and or interesting. And if you did, please hit that like button down below. And if you did like the video and you're not already a subscriber, well, I hope you'll consider subscribing. Because if you like this video, well, you might like more of our videos too. Well, either way, thank you for watching this video and have a great day. Thanks for watching. If you liked the video, please consider hitting the like button. And be sure to subscribe for more TNT Outdoors exclusive content.